If you've seen Season 20 of South Park, the end of Serialization as we know it, you'll know that it wraps up the continuous storyline trend the show has been following since Season 18. Season 20's storyline satirizes internet trolling and follows Gerald, Kyle's dad, posing as a troll known as Skank Hunt 42. After a season of trolling Danish Olympic gold medalist Frigga Allegard going too far, he becomes paranoid and meets up with another troll, Dildo Schwagens. From there, all hell breaks loose, and eventually, Ike is believed by Sheila, Kyle's mom, to be Skank Hunt 42. Kyle realizes the true identity of Skank Hunt, and Sheila sets out to punish them both for what they had done. But later on, she discovers that it isn't Ike, and Gerald and the rest of the troll community successfully shut down Troll Trace and the internet, and all is well once more. But did you know there was a different version of the episode? It is a common fact that each episode of the show takes 6 days to produce. There exist dark weeks, quote unquote, where the cast and crew take a week off from producing new episodes. Season 17, 18, and 19 had dark weeks, and Season 20 was no stranger. Here's where the story gets interesting. The end of Serialization as we know it started producing earlier than you might think. During the third dark week between members only and not funny, the script from the episode was already written and animated, and the voice work had begun. Since most of the staff was suffering from sleep deprivation, what came out was much more demented and disturbing than the final product. Upon realizing what they ended up with, the episode was rewritten and reworked at production on quote-unquote not funny, and the animation and dialogue were altered heavily. What follows is the details of the original episode. The episode starts off as it does in the final version, the opening scene at the Pentagon, the kids of South Park helping Kyle troll people on the internet, and Sheila trying to get out of the pantry, threatening to lock the boys in their rooms indefinitely. The episode continues normally from here. Haiti finds a way to get back to Mars, and Cartman tries to prevent that from happening, and Dildo helps Gerald shut down Troll Trace. This is when the differences begin. Sheila manages to escape the pantry with her strength, bewildered and steaming with rage. Only in this version, she looks even angrier. Her face is turned red, her eyebrows are pointed slightly differently, making her look a little bit more unhinged and crazed. Her nightgown is even more of a mess, and her eyes are bloodshot and look like they're ready to pop out of her head at any moment. What's more is that when she's yelling in frustration, there's an actual banshee screech in place of Mona Marshall's voice. We then get the cut to see where Gerald shuts off the breakers, which plays out normally. Afterward, we cut to the giving Kyle troll lines on his computer as Sheila angrily approaches from behind. After Ike says, "Lit my asshole, you Mexican bitch," Sheila shrieks, "Ike!" Ike notices this and screams in fear. Another differences arise at this point. Sheila's voice had returned, but had taken on a more enraged, infuriated tone than in the final version. "You dare lock me in the pantry so you can play on your computer?" Sheila charges after Ike and grabs his computer, but instead of throwing it on the floor, she throws it directly at Ike, to whom his computer throws him against the wall with force. He looks up at his disheveled mother. "Mommy, you're gonna pay for what you've done." Ike gets up and starts limping into the hallway, attempting to run away from Sheila, who screams in rage. Unfortunately, Sheila catches up to him, picks him up, and throws him forcibly into Gerald's study. Kyle takes notice at a bloodied and bruised Ike, who feebly calls out for him. "Ike!" Kyle exclaims, "Shit!" before throwing down his headset. "Mommy got out." "You helped make your brother this way?" Sheila began slowly approaching the two boys. "Mom, there's been a mistake. That Ike isn't the school troll. We've been trying to help the Shut the fuck up! Not another word from either of you. You're both grounded from the computer forever." "Mom, please, you gotta listen to me. Ike is innocent." Without hesitation, Sheila slaps Kyle across the face as he yells in pain and falls to the floor. "Do you think I'm stupid?" "No. Mom, you're not listening to me. You just don't know everything. I'm trying to protect my Kyle is cut off by Sheila punching him in the abdomen. "Ah! Mom, what the fuck?" "You shut your foul troll mouth, you little shit." Sheila then throws Kyle against Ike, causing a trickle of blood to spurt out from Kyle's mouth. What follows next is the scene where Cartman is trying to warn Elon Musk about his visions of Mars, to which Elon doesn't believe him. It then cuts to the Brofsky residence, where Kyle and Ike are trying to get away from Sheila, having had their faces smashed in by Gerald's computer. Their injuries are very noticeable, with bloody cuts and bruises all over their faces. "Don't you run away from me, you little bastards!" Sheila charges after them, grabs them and slams them into each other before dropping them. Kyle is clearly in pain as he screams at his mom to listen to him. "Jesus Christ, Mom, listen to me! And what makes you think I'll listen to you?" Sheila then approaches the two and dishes out a few hard punches, spewing blood on the walls in the process. "Argh! You deserve every bit of what you get, you ungrateful children!" Sheila then kicks Kyle in the face, causing blood to leak from his nasal passages. The scene with the helicopter and Leonard Berger, what follows, plays as normal. Afterwards, we see the boys trying to lose Sheila again, only to tumble down the staircase pretty realistically. Sheila runs down after them and drags them into the kitchen, growling and roaring like a wild animal. "Mom, please, you don't know what you're doing. Let us go, for fuck's sake." "And why should I? So you can torment innocent people online?" "No, listen to me, you dumb bitch." Sheila recalls in horror at what Kyle had just said. Enraged as never before, Sheila screeches like a banshee and slams down into Kyle and Ike, and proceeding to beat them savagely. We then cut to an outside view of the house, where sounds of Ike and Kyle being beaten and plates being smashed are heard off screen inside of the kitchen, followed by the sight of blood splattering on the windows and during Sheila's malicious dialogue. "I have had it with you little monsters, you hear me? You're done! You're both done!" We then cut to the alternate scene where Stan asks Token, "Where the hell is Kyle?" Token has no idea, and Stan has no choice but to call Butters at SpaceX. The scene of which plays out similar in the final version, though differently. The scene where Gerald approaches the last breaker plays out normally, and bits after the confrontation, Stan called the Pentagon and the SpaceX series are cut in between the following. Back at the house, Sheila bites down on Kyle's arm and begins mauling him like a zombie. She then tears it off and slits his throat in the area of a broken bone. Ike begins crying in sheer terror, which angers Sheila even more. "Don't tell me you feel sympathy for your brother, you filthy Canadian scum!" Sheila then grabs Ike by the head and begins pulling, as Ike lets out a gut-twisting scream of anguish before she tears off his head, which flies out of her hands as blood erupts from Ike's neck and his headless body collapses on the floor. Sheila falls down and has a moment to calm down. Her face returns to its normal color and her nightgown now has bloodstains all over it. After a brief period of silence, she looks down at her dead bodies of her children, and the sight takes her by surprise. "Ike? Kyle?" She stares in disbelief at their bodies and suddenly remembers where she got Gerald an iPad. "Wait, Gerald's iPad!" Sheila gets up and starts slowly walking up to the bathroom. When she reaches the door, she finds an iPad on the floor and picks it up and turns it on. When she goes to the Troll Trace website and searches up Ike Brofsky. From there, she's shocked to find that Ike's history shows no trolling. "There's nothing here. Kyle was telling the truth." Sheila then drops the iPad as the truly horrifying realization comes upon her. "Oh my God, what have I done?" After the scene where the SpaceX building explodes, the town of South Park calms down as the internet is completely reset. Kyle's narration is omitted here for obvious reasons. Gerald arrives at the house and enters in the astounding, "Honey, I'm home!" He's met with silence. He becomes confused and looks upstairs for Sheila. He eventually finds her in the bathroom, quietly weeping with his iPad by her side. "Honey?" Sheila looks up and is surprised to see Gerald. "Gerald? Honey, what's wrong?" Sheila continues weeping. Gerald goes back downstairs and notices blood in the kitchen. He runs over to the kitchen, takes note at the broken pantry door, before turning his attention to the broken and battered bodies of Kyle and Ike, with blood staining their clothes on the floor and Ike's torn off head. Jared recoils in utter shock as Sheila comes downstairs behind him. He kneels at the bodies and stares in horror. Honey, what have you done?" He picks up Kyle's bloodstained body and begins panicking. "Sheila, what the fuck have you done?" I'm sorry." Gerald begins to cry softly. "Come on, Kyle. Come on, stop fucking around. Wake up. Wake the hell up." He drops a body and realizes that Kyle and Ike are both dead and there's nothing that he could do. He begins sobbing over their bodies as Sheila watches on in sorrow and regret. The final scene of the episode is a montage of a depressed Sheila being transported to a mental institution, followed by Stan, Cartman, and Kenny being contacted about Kyle's death. Stan and Kenny begin mourning, while Cartman heartlessly grins and laughs at some sort of retribution for him and his friends breaking all of his stuff and skank hunt. The final shot is Sheila in the asylum, sitting alone in her cell, depressed and crestfallen. The credits follow over a shot of a stormy South Park, and then the episode ends. After viewing the original version of the episode, Trey Parker and Max Stone realized what they had done, and fearing that it would risk the cancellation of the show, they chose to rewrite the episode shortly after production of Not Funny, and hoped the original version would never be seen in the light of day again. Of course, they kept their tracks well hidden, and the show is set to continue through seasons 23 in 2019. One should wonder, though, what kind of messed up shit were the staff thinking when they made the original version? How would season 21 would have played out if they had gone through with airing the version of this episode? Were Trey and Matt actually willing to kill Kyle off? Or was it the lack of sleep that drove them to create such an exceedingly fucked up piece of media? No one honestly knows for sure. And that, my little shadows, was South Park, Season 20, Episode 10, the end of Serialization as We Know It, original version. My final thoughts on the story? This has to be one of the best South Park creepypastas I have actually ever listened to. I am not joking when I say this, people. This entire story was such a breath of fresh air in so many ways possible. I mean, holy freaking heck, you guys. This was wow. Like, freaking wow. I mean, okay, where do I begin with this story? Okay, for one, it was obviously very beautifully made. I mean, the story in and of its own self was so well paced. I mean, you have the startup here. I mean, you actually have a realistic startup on what happened with the episode itself, and how exactly the episode was originally supposed to go out, which in and of its own self flowed very well, because if you really think about it, if you suffer with sleep paralysis or sleep deprivation, you're bound to think up some pretty messed up stuff, and this is exactly the kind of thing that, you know, the story in itself went with. Now, originally I thought that the story was just going to go into a cliche fest, but damn, like, really, this blew my freaking mind. And if you've ever watched the show South Park, you should know that Sheila Berflosky, she is one crazy son of a bitch. Like, flat out. So it's really not completely out of her character in and of its own self to sit there and, well, snap as she did. I will admit, though, that the deaths were really, really, really brutal, but at the same time, though, it does correlate very well into how the show itself tends to go out. And if anything, it provides a really nice backstory behind, well, what could have happened with the actual episode. And I love the fact of the matter that the episode in and of its own self managed to work out quite well. I mean, it didn't go into any unnecessary detail about the things that were already in the episode, but it went into a beautiful amount of detail with what exactly happened, specifically with Stan and his mom and Ike and everything. You know, and trust me, it was really hard to read it sometimes because of how brutal it was, but still though, it was... I have nothing to say other than the fact that this was absolutely beautiful. I mean, especially on the Ghost Shield's Lost episode Wikia. I have to be frank here, this was absolutely beautiful. This is by far, in my honest opinion, one of the best creepypastas I have ever gotten the opportunity to read. And I mean that to the fullest extent of the word. It was truly beautiful. So, do I have any negatives with this story? Honestly, no. I truly have no negatives to say about the story. And that's actually really shocking, to be honest. I mean, even with the greatest stories out there, there's always bound to be flaws, but this one didn't have any for me. It flowed so well, and the cliches? I don't even want to call them cliches. It blended so well into the story that it worked out amazingly. So my final rating of this story would be a 10 out of 10. I mean, you know what? No, I'm going to go even farther than that. Hang on, let me put this mic down. Not only is this amazing story, but I'm going to give the original author Especially for this being the first creepypasta they made. I gotta give that person a round of a freaking applause. You, author, if you're listening to this, you did a really damn good job. And honestly, I am going to look so forward to reading more of your amazing stories in the near future. You did a perfect job in making this creepypasta. You've made it flow well. It was absolutely beautiful, and it matched so well with the show in and of its own self. And the best part about it was 100% realistic. A beautiful breath of fresh air and daisies. It was amazing. So, what did you guys personally think about this story? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys not? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And even though I personally think that this story was absolutely perfect, what would you all do to sit there and make the story a lot better? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'm the Shadow Reader. Thanks again for watching today's episode, and like always, roll the outro.